Good morning, Victoria. Happy Friday. I am super stoked to introduce my next guest. This is Sabre Sparkman. So I finally get to have a Sparkman in the hot seat.
Yes.
I'm so excited. So how are we related? Of course, by marriage.
Exactly. Our husbands are cousins. I believe their fathers were cousins. So way down the line.
So we're down the line, but still.
We add Spark to that Sparkman name.
Oh, yes, we do. Especially you. You might be one of the most eccentric women I have ever met, and I have met so many women. But today we're going to be talking about something that I feel like is mega important at this point, especially in my life right now, approaching 50, which is Sabra just graduated from the University of Houston, Victoria, with a degree in psychology.
I did.
So congratulations,
Thank you.
Mama. This is
Thank
awesome.
you.
And I actually had an opportunity to interview you recently, and the thing that you said that I just really wanted to put you in the hot seat was it's never too late.
It's not. It's never too late. In fact, it was the right time. I was recently told, you should have done it back, when you got out of high school. I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
There's no way. I tried. I didn't do well the first time. I did not do well in high school. It was not easy for me, and it wasn't my thing.
Right.
I got married, raised my babies, and when my last one got out of the house, or I shouldn't say out of the house because he's still there, but once he started going to college, I was like, you know what? Why can't I do this?
Yeah.
And my husband, Bobby, really pushed me. He's like, if something ever happens to me, he's like, you can't support yourself. I want to know that you can take care of yourself if I can't.
Right.
And I was like, I can never do this. I can't go to college. I didn't do good in school. I'll never be able to do this. And once I went that first semester, I was like, oh man, this is crazy. I can't. I'll never forget the first class that I went to. I took an English class. I'm like, I can do this. I can write papers, no problem. I took that paper and I turned it in. I took all online classes because I was still working for the school district at the time.
Right.
And I turned that paper in and it came back with like a 58. And I was like devastated. I was like, what is going on? So I met with the professor and I was like, what did I do wrong? And he explained to me, and he really mentored me that semester. And I worked hard with him. I even
VC?
This was at VC. It was Jacob. I can't even think of his last name now, but he teaches.
Well, you're
English.
on a first name basis
That's
now.
exactly right.
Which is really actually very cool.
Well, and at VC, I experienced a lot of relationships with my professors because a lot of them were my age. So I bonded with them, and I really have lasting friendships from professors at VC. But after the end of that class, he told me that I had grown more than any student he had ever had before.
Wow.
And I just had to take that breath and go, okay, I can't just go into this thinking I know what I'm doing. It's college. I have to learn.
Right.
And it took me a while to get into a routine of how to learn and how to manage my time and stuff like that. And once I did, it was easy. I mean, I shouldn't say easy, it wasn't, but I got my niche.
Right.
And I was able to, I kept my granddaughter while I was going to school most of the time before this last year she went into pre-K. So I still had those babies around that she would sit beside me on the couch and watch TV, and I would write my papers. And, I think it's important because my grandkids saw, I went to school, the stuff that I went through.
Right, absolutely.
And, I want them to understand that it's not an option. If you do it 30 years later, if you do it when you get out of high school, it's something that you need to do. It's something that you need to fall back on.
I'll never forget. I mean, Trey's mother was in her, I wouldn't say late 40s or maybe mid 50s, like you, and she was driving to the University she was driving to UT twice a week, and I thought that was nuts, but I was so proud of her.
Yeah.
And because she finished, she'd always promised her mom that she would finish and just hadn't gotten to it.
Right.
And finished it and was taking that drive and was finding the ways, to do it. And I think it's so interesting when it impresses on your heart that this is time, somehow or another, there's a way.
Well, and you appreciate it more.
Oh, I agree with you.
And there was many a times those group projects when you have those young kids and you can't get them, and I had no problem bringing out that mama voice and telling them, look, this is how it's going to be. You're going to do your part. You're not going to ride on my shirt tails. But that's just that part of me, and
right.
I have had several of the students that I got really close to say, you were really that mom figure for me when I was away from my mom. You were that comfort
right.
for me.
Oh, that's
and
so beautiful.
I can see how people build lasting relationships in college. I mean, these girls that I built these relationships were my kids' ages, but I'm invested in them and what they do after college, and making sure that that they're successful too, because I kind of feel like they're my school kids. So yeah, I really had the college experience at 52 years old. I still had those relationships. I still had those late nights of staying up and Starbucks keeping me up till 4 o'clock in the morning and going to bed for a couple hours and get up and go to school the next day. And, I still ran a household and still took care of kids and that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about staying up late to get your studying done.
Exactly.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify
no
that
partying
she didn't
on this.
exactly have the college experience.
No,
but
I did that before college.
Yeah?
Yes. But yeah, no, I didn't do any. But it was really I had the benefit to where when we did study groups, I was further along in my life to where I was more financially sound. So I would provide the food and the kids would provide the study habits for me.
Right.
So it worked out. When we would study up at the school, I'd bring food and the kids would, help me study. And I tell you what, some of those classes I could not have gotten through without my kids that helped me. I ended up taking at the very last minute when I was at VC, I had signed up for another class, and the Friday before school started, they canceled the class because there wasn't enough members. So I had to go into a chemistry class, and I'd never had chemistry in my life. And I was like, oh, this is such a bad idea. But I had to have the science so I could continue.
Sure.
And I made a relationship with 3 girls in that class, and we literally that whole semester we studied together and encouraged each other, and it really helped me get through that class, because I have to say throughout my whole college experience I never made a D, which in high school I was a C/D student. I never made good grades in school, so to be able to get a degree and I have to say I got a couple C's. Those math classes, I do not do well in math, but I held such a high standard for myself that it killed me when I got bad grades. I went to those professors and I'm like, what did I do wrong?
Right.
I want to know, I'm not your average, I'm not here to I want to succeed. I want to know, I want to learn. And, I have Professor Ortiz Garza, she was one of those professors that had you think outside the box. It wasn't so much what you learned in college.
Is that Jennifer?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
one of my favorite professors. She creates that environment to where you don't just learn the information, you relay it into real life situations, which what you use that college information.
She was at VC when I was there.
Was she?
Yes.
Yeah, she's amazing and
absolutely amazing.
Encouraged me when I thought there's no way I can do this. She's like, you can do this. You will do this. And when she was actually at graduation, she gave me a big hug. She's like, you did it. She says, I knew you could do it. So, I had those relationships with my professors, and there was some that challenged me, and I was like, I would come home crying, I can't do this, I'm too old for this, I don't have the patience for this, and my husband, my kids, and even the professors, you can do this, suck it up, it's just 6 weeks more or 8 weeks more, you can do it. My daughter got married in September, and that semester I happened to take a statistics and a very hard psychology class, and I literally thought I was going to lose my mind. But you know what? Once that semester was over, it was behind me, and I had done it, and I moved on to the next one. So
how has that experience changed you, the way that you're thinking?
Oh, I'm not the same person I was before I started school.
Right.
my brain is sharper, way sharper. I think that I probably, not that the knowledge makes me so much smarter, it's just the experience and the way that I've learned to adapt to doing it has greatly enhanced my life in everything that I do. I mean, I'm still not the best housekeeper, and we still eat out every night, and I would say that those late nights I never cooked. Well, I didn't cook before, so we still ate out. I'm just not the domestic type. But you know what? My husband's like, he never complained. When I'm like, what do you want for dinner? He's like, where are we going? It was a given. We're going to eat out. Cool. But it was those, he knew I had to study, and there was things that I missed out on. I mean, there were things that, it's either go out with them or stay home and study. And, and I never wanted him to miss out on something because I couldn't do it. But there was many times he sat at home because I couldn't go that weekend because I had, a research paper due, or, and there's many times I'd come in there and crying to him, I can't do this math. This is stupid. I don't need math. I've gone this long without algebra. Why do I need it now? And he's like, you're almost done. Right. You can do this. I know you can do this. You've made it this far. And I'm like, but math is horrible. I don't want to do this anymore. And I made a C in the class.
That's awesome.
Let me tell you, girl, that's probably the only C I ever made in my life.
Because I want to tell you that there's times in my life where I'm like, I wonder if there's a way that you can like literally grandmother clause yourself in.
I tried, hey, it doesn't work.
I got all this, and I'm 60 years old. Is there a grandma clause for the algebra?
No, it doesn't. And I tell you, I sat in that class, and I pretty much had to teach algebra to myself because it was such a fast-paced class, and my brain just did not wrap around it.
Especially too if you have that deficit to begin with, because I went through the same thing that you went through too, where I was like, what do I do? Do I isolate the class? And do I just do I not waste, but do I basically, dedicate an entire semester to algebra so I have nothing else going on? You know what I'm saying? Nothing else going on. And it's incredible to me because I know a lot of women who go back to university and who struggle with the math.
I would say probably 90% of the people that go to college struggle in math. I mean, you have those that are just, I think you're either born gifted at it or you're like everybody else, you struggle with it. And I got tutors, the same thing with the statistics class. I spent probably the last 6 weeks almost every single day in a tutoring class to get through statistics because it was so hard, and I still don't retain it.
Right.
And that's part of the reason that I'm kind of shifting my degree because that's one of the things that my brain does not retain. But it didn't keep me from graduating from college, and it's not going to keep me from going towards a master's degree. It's just no more algebra, no more algebra.
Sabre, at one point in time, I was like, maybe if I could get a CT scan and they could show like there's like an area of that whole processing that there's nothing there that I could like get in. It's like a medical thing. It's a medical thing.
Well, right before I was going to take that class in the summertime, my daughter's also taken the same classes that I am, so we share books, and she never helped me. She's never helped me with my classes. But we share books and stuff like that, and we're going to take in the summer, and that's the summer that my retina detached, and I had to have the surgery. So I was very glad that I had not taken the class.
I knew you were frustrated because I saw you in passing, as I often do.
Yes.
And you were like, yeah, I've got this retina thing, and got scratched. And
it completely detached. I had to go have surgery. So that first semester back, I had a lot of vision issues in that, and I had taken that class, and so I struggled with being able to see the overhead and stuff like that. And it's like, you know what? It's true. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and it, and it's funny because we'll do something and that will pop into my head, and I'm like, I didn't even know I had learned that. I struggled with it for so long, but once I removed myself from that setting and had to use it in a different setting, my brain remembered it.
Right.
So
how incredible is that?
Yeah.
I want to talk about there's a couple of things. Like, have you always dressed and looked so eccentric your whole life?
I have.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's my mom and my grandmother's fault. They always, my bows matched, my socks matched. You know, I always had the patent leather shoes on. So yeah, I kind of grew up spoiled.
And that's your thing.
That's my thing.
How many times a year do you change your hair? Because I thought about you last night. Someone said, Ingrid, I'm just not used to you with the short hair. And I was like, I know, I change my hair frequently. I kind of feel like I've always had short hair. And then I realized, oh no, I've had a spectrum of colors. But then I was like, wait a minute. There's one more woman I know.
It depends on how often I get stressed that year, because my hair color is the one thing that I can control. And so when I get stressed, or I get to that point to where I just feel like I have no control over everything, I'll do something with my hair.
Wow.
I feel like it's a wall. It grows back, and you can change the color as you want to. So
this color is lovely, by the way.
Yes,
it's super fun. I noticed for the wedding that you were...
I went back to a natural, normal mama. It about killed me for over a year. And it didn't take long after the wedding. I was like, let's do something wild.
Oh, I think that's so fun. What advice do you have for women?
Just don't ever think you can't do it. Don't ever have the lack of self-confidence to think that you can't do it, because you can. On my graduation cap, I quoted Frida Kahlo, and it says, we never know exactly how much we can endure until the very end. And well, it's not for word, but it's true. I mean, there was days that I get up and I think, I cannot do this today. You know, and so many times I think, I'm just not going to do that paper. And it would eat at me, and I would do it, and I would go to class, and these kids were like, oh no, I didn't turn that in, and my brain was going, how can you even think that, you know? And I realize when you're young, you have a total different mindset, and that's part of the reason that it took me this long to go to school. And you know, I've thought, I'm looking at doing my master's, and I've even kind of dabbled with the idea of getting my PhD. You know, once you get started, it's kind of addicting.
Sure.
You know, it's very rewarding, especially when you pull an A out of a class or even a B out of a class that literally pulled every single thing that you had out of you. And, you know, you've had those tears, and at the end, you know, you're like, wow, I did it, and nobody did it for you. Nobody, you know, gave you that grade. You earned that, and there's nothing more rewarding at the end of the day than to sit back and say, you know what, that was all me. I did that. You know, I had the self-discipline. I had, you know, the want to, and I think everybody should do it.
And also, too, you fought the demon in your head, or, you know, and for maybe that's a little bit extreme, but
No,
I'm just
it's true.
saying,
It's
the
very
paradigm
true.
in your head, you can't do this, you were never good at school, this
Right.
is not your subject, give it up, you know, that constant sort of mental
And it's
struggle.
so much easier to just not do it than it is to do it.
Right.
And, you know, people stand behind you and tell you, don't let that tell you.
You know what changed for me is I had someone say, Ingrid, in life, things can be taken from you. Your house can be taken, your husband can be taken, your car can be repossessed. These are the things. But no one can ever take away your education.
That's exactly right.
And I was like, it was so profound. And that really gave me the jump that I needed to go back.
Well, and it's just, you know, and like I said, I really struggled, but it was just so, like I said, at the end of the day, when somebody tells you you're such an inspiration, I don't feel like I'm an inspiration. I mean, I have a hard time processing that, because I did it for me, and I did it because it made me feel good. And now, you know, I always laugh, now I got to become an adult and decide where I'm going to go from here.
Sure.
And
what are you going to look at?
well, I'm going back into education, I believe. I'm looking into either going into school counseling or just special education in general, which all along, no matter how hard I tried to fight it, that's really where my heart has always been. It's, you know, and it just took that kick in the back of the head to say, okay, this is definitely what you need to do. You know, my love for the Vine School and my kids over there, and just getting back in that phone call that I made that one day to start subbing over there and get back into that, it's like, oh yeah, this is my happy place. This is where I get my tingles, you know. So now I just, and it does. I mean, my focus is I want to help other kids that struggle with learning. Right. So that's where my point is now, is finding out where I'm going to be the most effective in that journey. Is it through school counseling where I can do interventions? You know, I've always been very good at coming up with unique ways to help kids that have struggled with learning things and stuff like that. And that's where I really want to focus, is coming up with things that, you know, people may not necessarily get to see and think, oh, and say, hey, let's try this, and being able to see that it works and see the relief in a kid's face when they try something new and it just clicks for them. Right. There's not a drug in the world that ever tops that feeling. Yes. Ever. So
and how incredible that you would choose to pay that forward.
Yeah.
Because you understand. I think that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now, did you work during the time that you were in school? Or
when I first started, I worked for the district, and some things just didn't work out, so I did quit, and so I was able to devote a lot of time. I just this past year worked and sub for the Vine School, and they kept me pretty busy, and there was times that I had to say, no, I can't work this week, and I would call and tell her, okay, I'm off the schedule for this week, I've got a paper, and then I don't tell them no very often because I just love going over there and being able to see the kids in that. So no, I was very fortunate on the fact that, you know, I was able to, we were flying on one income for a very long time. So, you know, that's, where do I go now? Do I continue with school and continue with one income? And by the time we get done, we're so old we can't, can't afford to do it. We're too tired and too old to do anything. But I think I'm going to do some graduate classes in the fall and sign up to sub for the district also, and still do
because here's what you found: where there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely.
And the power of perpetually learning is incredible.
And it seems like I'm that type person to where the harder it is, the easier, or not necessarily the easier it is, the more that I like it. I need that. I'm the procrastinator. I wait till the last minute to get it done, and that's how I do my best work, because I work best under pressure.
Right.
So
tell me about your summer. What are you going to do this summer?
I'm going to experience the pool with the grandbabies. Yay. We're gonna just relax and enjoy the summer. You know, with my granddaughter being in school, this is really, we don't spend much time together anymore, so we're just going to take trips and relax and not do a whole lot of anything, not think about school until August. And it's nice to not have that, okay, I'm going to have this I've got to do when school starts and all of that. If I don't want to do it, I don't have to do it. So it's a choice now. You know, before it was always I had to do it because I needed to finish. And now it's a choice whether, you know, I have that pull to keep going, but I don't have to if I don't want to.
I do have one more question for you. Walking the stage.
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, this is my third year in a row I've walked the stage. I have an associate's in science. Arts and science, and then I have an associate's in science. And then I have my bachelor's degree now. Last year I was able to walk with my daughter when I got my associate's in science.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that was pretty special to be able to share the stage with your daughter.
Yeah, that is really cool. So that third one where you're like moonwalking, that you're like not even really,
yeah,
you did like a little shuffle. But you're like, how have I been doing this now so long? No,
I think my family was more excited than I was. They're like, yeah, she's done. Maybe she'll. But I'm still the same person. I'm still going to be grumpy. I'm still going to be.
I loved what you said too. You're like, and people are like, I'm such an inspiration. You're such an inspiration. You're like, in the back of your mind, like, I cried all night.
That's exactly right. You didn't see when I punched the pillows and threw my book across the floor and just yelled at my husband because he just happened to be the one that walked in the room when I was frustrated. Yeah, he's a real trooper. Yeah. He's like, you're not any fun anymore. And I'm like, I know, and I won't be for a while.
This is my degree in psychology. Exactly. Like, I'll analyze you when I'm done.
I know. Everybody always tells me, you got the perfect subject to work on. I'm like, yeah, well, he's too far gone.
That's a great way to end it.
That's exactly right.
Sabre, thank you so much for your time and for inspiring.
Yes, thank you.
To just be inspiring, because I talked about it last night. I was like, I just got these 3 more years. And then, Amelia, I feel like is at that point in time in her life where she's going to be so wrapped up. And then that'll be it. And then it's, something I've always wanted to do is go back in. But I'm thinking about majoring in marine biology.
That would be awesome.
Which would be a complete and total opposite of what I started with when, I had journalism and then early childhood education.
Anything that excites you and sparks that fire, who cares if you can never do anything with it? Or, do what makes you happy. Because like you said, an education's not anything that can be taken away from you. And, because when I first started, I was always like, what, there's so many limited degrees of what I could get here because, I'm not going to move off. My husband has a good career. And I'm like, who cares if I can ever do anything with it? It's something that excites me, and I'll figure out what I can do with it once I get it.
That's right.
So,
and like I said, the tingles.
Well, and I'm not even going in that direction now. I'm going, but it's something that sets that basis for what I want to do.
And it changed you as a human.
It did.
That's awesome. It gave you the tingles.
That
was my favorite. Thank you so much, Sabre, for coming and joining me today.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all so much for watching Southbridge Street Live.